I'm one of the neighborhood coordinators here at the Village at University Gates. I want to just kind of go back a little bit. Like, I actually worked at the Village of Winston Park from 1998 to 2008. And I hate using dates like that because it makes me feel like, oh my, I'm not a kid anymore. But I really was a kid when I went there. And I loved working at Winston Park. Like, I feel like a lot of the sound things that built a solid foundation for me, I learned at Winston Park. So I was in the recreation department. I was there for about 11 years, and then I left, and I went back to school. I worked part-time in the community, and I loved it. I raised my boys. They were quite little then. But then I was ready to come back. And so I talked to some Schlegel people, and they were talking about this role of the neighborhood coordinator, and I thought, you know what, that is such a neat role. So for me, I feel like it's embraced literally everything that I learned at Winston, but also those really great pieces of my job that I learned when I worked in the community. So I get to be sort of like a point person or a facet for not only team members, but residents and families. So that's been really helpful in that team part. Like, I'm big on the team part. And I was kind of thinking, like, what are some things that I do as a neighborhood coordinator to help build that team? Because I think that that's where a lot of this culture change piece starts. And honestly, when I came back in 2013 to the Village of Arbor Trails, and then I came here in 2015, I totally lucked out, because that's the culture that we started with. So that's actually been a starting point for us at both those villages. And just working at Winston for so long, you could really see that culture change. So I literally left right before, Christy was giving you some dates yesterday about when the organization started on that culture, and I kind of left and then it started a year later, and then I literally came back right when it was like really gaining some momentum. So that was really exciting. So it's great that they were talking about that this morning, that I always tell the team that, like, how great is it? Like, look at the small successes that we've had, and look at, in 10 months, not even 10 years, 10 months, what are we going to be doing differently? So I was kind of thinking about it last night, and how we want to build, how are we doing that culture change initiative? I want you to think of an outbreak without all the gross medical pieces of it. But every outbreak that I've done working in healthcare, that is a time when the team is spending a lot of time together, because we can't leave the neighborhood. We're all together. We don't want to cross-contaminate, that's for sure. And we're all doing things that we normally might not do. All of us are wearing a lot of different hats. And why are we all there? We're all there to make everybody well and better. And then when you beat it, it's the best feeling in the world, right? Like, you're like, oh, we beat it. And it's almost like we had an outbreak this past winter, and it was almost like a competition on which neighborhood was going to get better faster. So, but then if you take all that away, why do we have to wait for like an outbreak for that to happen? Why do we have to wait till we're all, we're wanting to get people better because they're sick, to wear different hats, to do different jobs, to support each other and the wellness of our residents? So anyways, I'm gonna leave you with that.
There's so much to say and so little time, honestly. 5 minutes seems like an eternity while you're up here, but it's actually not very much time. I'm so excited to be here, especially after talking to some of you yesterday and realizing that you're all just starting your culture change journeys as well. It's so exciting to be a part of that, and I hope that I'm able to plant a seed of culture change with some of you, and maybe you'll be up here telling us about your successes in the future. Hello, my name is Cadin Forrest. I'm from the village of Aspen Lake in Windsor. I've been there since we opened, and we just celebrated our 5th anniversary a short time ago. I'm currently a housekeeper there, but I'm also a PSW. I first started there as a PSW on the midnight shift. I would likely still be there, except that my family told me, in no uncertain terms, that while I was fine in the evenings and at night, I was a wee bit grouchy during the day. I think the term bear-like may have been used at one point or another. Anyway, to keep that story short, through some twists and turns, I ended up on the day shift in housekeeping, and I've been there ever since. I've not since been accused of being bear-like since my shift to day shift. Happy life, right? They say happy wife, happy life, and it's true. While my culture change journey started with Aspen Lake, I was able to begin advancing it personally when I attended the Pioneer Network Conference in 2014 with a group from Schlegel's. Just as a side note about the Pioneer Network Conference, because I was asked about it a few times yesterday, I really must say it's a fantastic experience. So many people concentrated on culture change, so much positive energy and great ideas. It's like this, only 20 times bigger and on steroids. Anyway, the purpose of attending the conference is to gather as much information as we can while attending the presentations and workshops, bring it all back with us, and sift through it to see if we can find the gems, something that we can use or incorporate into village life. The one that really floored me, no pun intended, was entitled Falling into Culture Change, a blueprint for falls prevention program. The presenter, Sue Ann Gilderman, outlined a fantastic program to reduce falls. And the main pillar behind it was the complete removal of all personal alarms. Now, as you can imagine, I'm sure, I was not greeted with enthusiasm by the people I presented this to. As a matter of fact, it was met with some resistance. And it's at this point I'd like to say that I was merely planting a seed. I got to make a presentation about eliminating alarms, and then had to deal with very little of the actual heavy lifting, such as I didn't have to redo all the paperwork and care plans for over 30 alarms about removal and substitutions of interventions. I didn't have families calling me and yelling at me about taking alarms off their loved ones, and I didn't have to talk to the ministry. Finally,
we want your job.
And finally, I hadn't just spent a few $1,000s of my budget on new alarms, which my kinesiologist had. He was not thrilled. Despite all the heavy lifting required by others, I managed to get traction and we moved forward. What we worked on was a slow rollout, and the project was given a 2-year timeline to be completed. We're just shy of that 2-year mark now, and I'm happy to say Aspen Lake is down to 1 alarm. Now, just by way of contrast, another team member here on the same trip, she's actually here, she's going to speak a little while, Mary Snyder. She was on the same trip, and she went back to her village with the same goal. She was able to go back to Winston Park, and they eliminated their alarms within just a few months. Now, the purpose of pointing that out is not to say that one approach was better or worse, but that I think it illustrates that even with the Schlegel's progressive direction, we're all handling culture change differently at the village level. There's no one single approach. In closing, I just wanted to say it's really fantastic to be included in the conversation, even though I'm just a housekeeper. If you would have told me 5 years ago that I'd be standing in front of you today, I would have laughed. But I don't feel like just a housekeeper or just a PSW. I feel like a contributing team member, and that I'm able to bring about culture change as well. Now, if I managed to plant a seed about, or piqued your interest about falls reduction or alarm reductions, just see me during the breaks. I'd be happy to talk to you today. Thank you.
So just by a show of hands, how many people remember as a child being asked what you want to be when you grow up? Come on. Now another show of hands, who heard someone say a housekeeper in long-term care? Me either. I think I said hot air balloon pilot to be. So I'm very new to this, to the long-term care. I started out in automotive. The last 15, 20 years been automotive. Building cars, selling cars, cleaning cars, which is pretty much my passion. I seen, in May of 2014, I had kind of an epiphany. I need to do something different. So I seen a job fair for Schlegel Villages. No credentials, no experience, no nothing. I'm just like, I'm gonna grab a resume and go down there and see what happens. So I grab a resume, I go down there, and I meet with Joanne Potts, who was one of our GMs, and she got to talking to me. We got to talking just about life. Didn't even talk about the job. She looked at my resume and goes, "What do you do?" I said, "I live." But she liked my personality. Needless to say, I started the journey. I got pretty lucky. We had the orientation, which was a 2-week orientation, and I must say it was amazing. The things that we learned, they talked about the culture change. They talked about the mission, vision, and values of Schlegel. I fell in love. I fell in love with everything that they want to do, everything that they stand for, and everything that they're trying to be and trying to change for the future of aging. I got super lucky. The team I work with is in Old Castle. Although we all have different titles, RPN, housekeeping, maintenance, PSWs, we all have the same role and the same goal, and that's to put living first for the elderly. There's nothing more important than that. With that being said, what comes along with putting living first is cross-functionality, building authentic relationships, and resident empowerment. Now, cross-functionality is the mainstay of what we do. As a housekeeper, my day is not spent cleaning all day. Actually, I fool around a lot. I sing, I dance, I joke around, and I love it. And the neighbors love it. One of our neighbors, the girls always tease me because I'm always singing, and not very well, but I sing anyway. So I say to the neighbor, I said, well, do you like my singing? She goes, Cody, no. But I do like that you sing from the heart, and that's what really matters. So I mean, that's a relationship that I'm building with her. Another neighbor, well, a thing I have is $2. If you want something from me, you got to give me $2. Not really. I'm not really charging anyone the $2, but just a saying I have. So actually the other morning I had a paisley shirt on, and when the neighbor says to me, "Hey Cody, come here," I said, "Yeah, what's wrong?" She says, "That's a nice shirt." I'm like, "Thanks." She goes, $2. So these are the things that make this job what it is. And actually, I don't even think of it as a job. It's a hobby. Because I think anything that you love to do is not work. So back to what I was saying about cross-functionality is our titles don't define who we are. If I see one of my neighbors walking down the hall and I see that he or she needs to go to the washroom, I take him to the washroom. If there's a spill in the dining room, they don't wait to call me. Someone will clean it up. And this makes it, this is a home. And this makes it feel like home. And that's what this is all about, right? This is our culture. This is our family. And that's how we do things together. Also with resident empowerment, we, like I said, I'm used to fooling around and dancing and stuff, so I don't want to sweep the dining room. But Peter likes to sweep the dining room, so come on, Peter, let's go. He feels empowered. It gives him something to do. He has a lot of fun. One of the other neighbors, she likes to vacuum the hallways. So I'll give her a little part of the hallway to vacuum. It gives them a sense of purpose and a feeling of belonging. So I mean, these are the things that make it all worthwhile. I'm getting the sign. I'm gonna get gonged. See that? I heard some speakers yesterday talking about the routines and the way we need to get out of the routines, and that's something that we have where we're at. Is if I'm walking through the dining room and I see people just sitting around, oh no, we're gonna have some fun now. We're gonna put on some Olivia Newton-John. We're gonna bust some dance moves out, and we're just gonna have some fun, and it's a great thing. So the culture change is just being you and enjoying people, building those relationships, which is the most important, with the team, with the neighbors, with the families, and that's what's gonna make this a success. Thank you.
We have a little bit of time for you to ask some questions. So we've got 2 people from housekeeping and a person in the neighborhood team coordinator role who are bringing a very unique perspective to share with you today, how they're making culture change happen in their roles, which you may not have typically thought that it could happen in these roles. Sometimes we think it's just those at the top that have to make it happen, but I think you've got people who are directly on the front lines, living it real. I just love what you said, be you and enjoy people, how you finish that off. So please, have we got some questions?
I'm just kind of curious in terms of what your job descriptions look like.
Our job descriptions?
Yes. They all say that at the bottom.
Aspen Lake started right at the beginning of the culture change. I think really I had a chance to start as a brand new, we're starting an opening with culture change. And I think that everybody, when we started, learned that cross-functional wasn't just an idea, it was something that we could live. We could actually do this. And what Cody said is right. Just because there's a spill in the dining room doesn't mean someone has to come and find me. And then I have to go run and get whatever I need and go clean that up. The PSWs will clean that up, or the food people, they'll go and clean it up as well. And it's just everybody working together. Simple things, like Cody said as well. I have no problem toileting somebody. As a matter of fact, I'm probably more comfortable with it because I'm a PSW as well. And so I've had those experiences. It's not that big a deal. But I do everything. I do it all.
I think too, like with the role of the neighborhood coordinator, like honestly, like coming from Winston and then going into Arbor Trails and then here at University Gates, someone in a role like myself, and I mean, I do all those things too, like if someone makes a mess, we clean it up, but someone who typically did an NC role, they would be looked at like as an assistant director of nursing care. And I actually get that, and I think when I meet with families and we're doing care conferences, and I mean, I'm kind of like this role is like a generalist leader. Like I really rely heavily on those specialist people, like my RIQI coordinator, my PSWs. Like I have no success without the success of my team, because the team that I work alongside and that I support, they are the experts on the residents that I help support. I have nothing without those people. And I learn so much from them every day. And it's funny because families, you know, it's great to see a bunch of professionals in a room and we're all really excited about a culture change. But it's funny because sometimes families haven't really caught up to that either. So I often get asked, oh, are you a nurse? And I'm like, no, I'm not a nurse. Like I like to pretend I'm a pseudo nurse sometimes. And sometimes some of the nurses I work with say, oh, you're a good pseudo nurse. But I'm like, you know, my background is not nursing. So.
And I do have daily duties, and they do get done. But like I said, because I have so much fun doing those duties, like I have no problem vacuuming and sweeping and wiping down the toilets and sinks and that, but because I have so much fun doing it, I get it done quick, and that frees me up to do the other things I do. I routinely shower some of our male neighbors with no issues and no problems. Dietary, I'll set tables, and there's so many different things that we do. And like Tamara said, the NC, I've seen her shower people and do different things and argue with me, actually. Tammy, I've actually had arguments with my NC over who's gonna clean up a mess. Like, it's my job. She's like, it's not your job, I'll do the thing. Like, and I'm totally serious. I mean, it's a great experience, and it's a great environment to live and to work in.
Okay, as a neighborhood leader, can you tell me about your hours? Like, do you work in a full FTE? Do you work days, evenings, weekends, and how do you cover that? And how do you facilitate? Do you have a director of care? I'm trying to look at organization chart.
Sure.
You have director of care. Do you have a supervisor of care, or is just director of care and then the neighborhood lead?
So the NCs report directly to the general manager. We have a director of care. We have an assistant director of care.
The NCs is neighborhood
coordinator. That's my
you
role.
report directly to who?
I report to my general manager.
Okay.
Yeah. So I work alongside those specialist leaders. So I'm a generalist in the neighborhood. So I sort of support the team members, all of them. Like I've been doing performance appraisals on the nurses, on housekeepers, on our food service team, but I work alongside, so it's kind of like a triangle. So I work really closely with those specialist leaders. So so if I'm doing a performance appraisal for my housekeeper, I'm going to need a lot of input from my director of environmental services. If it's with the nurses, I'm going to rely heavily on those, like getting the clinical pieces from my DOC and my ADNC and my RIQI coordinator. But basically, it's like these guys have really summed it up so well. Like I'm really boring compared to the two of them, but it's about the relationship building, and that's what we really focus on in our neighborhoods, are the relationship. And you don't need a title, or I mean, like Cody's NC was a housekeeper, and she does the same job as me, and we have very different backgrounds. But yeah.
So do you work evenings?
I work a lot of different hours. I work days. I try to come in at least once or twice a month on nights just to connect with them. It's good that I live 10 minutes away in the car, but it's bad at the same time. But supporting your team isn't a 9-to-5 job. So I flex it around the demands of the team. I support 2 neighborhoods. So I have 32 residents, and then I support the teams in each of those neighborhoods. So you kind of have to flex it to where the need is, and that doesn't revolve around a 9-to-5. I work every 3rd weekend. Yeah.
So Cody, you had mentioned a 2-week orientation, and we were kind of blown away by that. Can you tell us a bit of what that entitled, who
Yeah,
you
for
were
sure.
with, if it was a group thing, if it was a one-on-one thing, how that all worked?
It was a total group thing. It was 2 weeks, but actually the first week was us just coming together, explaining the culture change, the mission, values, mission, vision, and values, and what the Schlegel family was all about, where we're at and where we're going. The second week was actually, I was part of a startup crew because our village was brand new. So the second week was us putting the village together. So getting the beds together, getting the dresses together, things like that together. So the people that I work with now in my neighborhood, I worked very closely with for those first 2 weeks as well. So I mean, the orientation was amazing. It was about relationships and just building a team and making sure that we all know who each other are. I still play a game now called Who Are You? As I walk through the village, if I see someone I don't know, I'm like, who are you? I'm Cody, and who are you? What do you do? And that goes for family members. I want to know who family members are. I want to know who team members are. I want to know who the neighbors are. And that's something I learned in orientation, just to be open to everyone and just find out what it's all about.
That orientation's not when you open a village. We've done that at each village.
Oh, yes,
yeah.
sorry.
So we did that at Arbor Trails. We did that at University Gate. So it's pretty intensive. So a lot of those signature programs that we offer to team members throughout the year, it's an opportunity for exactly to build the rapport and the relationship with those people that you're going to be opening the village with, because I think we can all attest to that. That is crazy. Like when you're moving in that many people in a short window of time, you want to make sure that the people that you're working with have your back and that there's a bit of trust that's been established and those sorts of things. So it's an intensive orientation where we cover a lot, like the living in my today, and we do pieces of the neighborhood team development and all sorts of stuff. But it's a great opportunity to build that it all goes back to the relationship. And then it's really neat to see, and I'm sure these guys could attest to that, is those relationships that you foster with people in this orientation. And then as your village gets bigger, it's really cool to see how that's kind of flourished and how everyone's kind of taking care of each other and whatnot.
Question here too is, so you had the opening orientation.
Yes, the opening
What would be a regular orientation, and how does that include
I was
culture
part of the
change?
opening of Aspen Lake as well, so I don't know what a regular one would be.
So a new team member, when we have a new team member, it really depends on the role. They do have the opportunity to obviously shadow, so we're implementing. I mean, Schlegel Villages has implemented, but University Gates, we're slowly checking things off as we've only been open since August of last year. But there is a mentorship program that we're quite proud of. So we pair people in a neighborhood with someone that embodies the vision, mission, and values. And again, it might not necessarily, for that part of the orientation, it might not be someone that is going to teach them the technical pieces of that job. So we could very easily pair a food service person with someone like Cody, who works in environmental services.
I'm actually one of the mentors.
There you go. So we have that, and then we obviously actually pair them with someone that's going to show them the technical or the skilled pieces of their job. We have an online like Schlegel Marketplace, so there's a lot of things that are on there. But we also have village traditions, neighborhood team development, living in my today, which is our dementia program. So I think that we could all attest to this as a company that definitely believes in education and empowering our team members with knowledge. So did that answer the question? I'm not sure.
I have actually a few questions. How is your position funded? Through what envelope? Is it nursing? Is it activity?
No, I don't actually know. That's a great question. I'd have to find that out for you. Hey, how is my position funded?
From nursing.
Yeah.
You said that you support two neighborhoods.
I do.
How many neighbors are in each neighborhood?
So in my village, I have 32 residents in each neighborhood.
Okay. And do you work full time?
Oh, yes.
Can you
Oh, yeah.
can you describe how the support look like? How do you support the staff and the neighbors? What do you do basically?
I think I do a lot, but I think for me the key, they had asked us what are the efforts, and honestly for me it is that this is a people intensive role. I think we're a people intensive village actually, I think all of our villages are that way. So for me it is about building relationships with the people that I work alongside. My team, I need to get to know them, and again, I rely heavily on, they are the experts. I am not the expert, I'm the generalist. So their success is, I feel that's my success. If something small happens and it's a success for them, or a win with a family that's maybe been a bit trickier, or a resident that's had some challenges, and they have come up with a solution, that means success to me. So it all boils, if you really want to, it's all the relationship. It all boils down to that.
I think what some people might be struggling with, for those of us who are still very task-oriented and moving through the journey,
Sure.
what might be some of those hit list items that you do in your role?
The neighborhood, so the neighborhood coordinator, so we support the team in the village, but we also do the performance appraisals for the people that we work with. We do the care conferences. Most neighborhood coordinators also have a village-wide role, so sometimes that's, some neighborhood coordinators support BSO, or we call it the Personal Expressions Resource Team. Some do health and safety. My village-wide role since we've opened has been human resources, to try to recruit PSWs, because that's something that I know that a lot of long-term care and retirement homes struggle with, so that seems so simple, but it actually, you wear a lot of different hats. During outbreak, I was PSW, I was housekeeper. I work alongside the team because I'm not kept in an office. I'm in the neighborhood, I'm ingrained in the neighborhood. We do huddles with our team. I really try to go into work each day thinking that I would like to work myself out of a job, because and I think part of the thrill that I've had with doing performance appraisals with the team members thus far is some of them are like, Tam, I really want to do what you do. So I want to make sure that they're getting the tools in their tool belt to succeed and grow and develop in our company as well.
I think I just want to add to that too, is it's with their role, it keeps going back to relationships, and that's what it's always going to go back to, is we have intimate relationships with our NCs. We can sit down and talk to them about anything. When there's family concerns, when there's team member concerns. Maybe if I have a concern with another team member that I can't quite get through to them, that's where my NC will step in and break that ice and seal that bond and keep us together. So instead of having to run to someone outside of the neighborhood, like the DOC or my department manager, that's where the neighborhood coordinator would step in and take over that role.
A big piece of the role is we're trying to push the teams and encourage the teams and help the teams grow and develop to become self-directed. So that's kind of where I'm trying to work myself out of a job.
My question is, it still, at the end of the day, comes back down to residents receiving care or neighbors receiving care.
For sure.
So is there an assignment for a PSW? You guys will toilet and shave and possibly shower someone, but what happens when the job didn't get done? At the end of the day, Mr. Smith did not get
Sure.
his shave, or he did not get care. Do the PSW still have an assignment?
We don't call them assignments. We have job routines for our PSWs. So in my neighborhood right now, I have 3 PSWs that are on during the day and 3 that are on in the evening. And our neighborhoods are sort of shaped like a U. So there's rooms on either side of that U, and then those common areas. And what works, I'm in I'm talking about Hagee, which is a memory care neighborhood. And what works really well with that is they have one PSW going down one hallway, the other one going down the other hallway. They're starting the cares and supporting the residents with sort of those clinical pieces that need to get done. And then we kind of have a person that floats, and sometimes that float looks like if there's a lift, which there's not very many of them in memory care, they help with the lift, but they'll help with showers. So people do, it's not like we just, it is about the relationships, but it's not just like a, hey, how's it going? Like when they come in, we actually do have tasks that we have to get done, but really it's about how are we gonna work through our relationships to get the tasks done more.
And I don't think, at least with my neighborhood, it's not a task. We
Yeah.
know what we're there for every morning.
Yeah.
So I'm on the day shift, so we come in the morning. We're getting all of our neighbors up who want to get up. We're getting them up for breakfast. So like she said, that's exactly how it happens. So a PSW will be on this hall, a PSW in this hall. They'll do the singles, and then they'll call myself or Kayden if he's available, or the other PSW for anybody who needs help, you know, with a lift or something like that. We get them up, and that's still part of having the relationship. They know who we are because we're there every morning. Maybe the one day.
So
off a week or
housekeepers
two.
will help with the lift?
Pardon
And
me? Absolutely.
housekeepers?
Yes, we're all trained.
We're all
Okay.
trained.
Yep, we're all trained.
And at the end of the day, somebody does sign off that the
Oh,
care
yeah.
was
Oh,
done?
yeah.
Yes,
Documentation.
yes, everything's documented.
Right.
Yep.
So, I mean, again, if we're going back to the flexible dining piece, I'm going to go back to the Hagee neighborhood. Like, that's an open concept neighborhood. There's a toaster right there. If all my PSWs that I'm working alongside that day are busy doing cares or showers or whatnot, and Mr. Smith wakes up, and you know exactly, like, I can help him get dressed and all those things, and I can take him down to the kitchen. I can get him a piece of toast and yogurt and whatever the heck you like, and sit with him and watch all that. And I will be the first one to admit that I'm not the most computer savvy on Medicare, like in terms of the POC. So I often rely on, again, the experts that know that. That's a goal that I have, to be better at it. But it does get documented, and you're right, it's not just a.
I'd like to turn your attention to the last question. I wonder if you can just click that forward. And it was sharing your top 3 recommendations. So based on your culture change in long-term care in your homes or in your neighborhoods or any other initiatives that you're doing, what would be your top 3 recommendations to the audience?
Okay, I'll start. Mine would be to respect and value all the team members. That's everyone that's involved. With respect and value comes good work. I mean, if people trust you and they know you and they feel they can count on you, you're going to get good work from them each and every single day. Building strong relationships. Back to that again. Not only with your team, but with the well, I call them neighbors, with the neighbors and with the family members. We recently had someone pass away last week, actually on Mother's Day. On Tuesday, the sons came in to finish up gathering all the belongings, and the first thing he said to me was like, "Thank you for everything, and I can't wait to get my dad in here." I mean, so it's not always a bad thing. I mean, we know that most people who come to us, it's end of life for them, but it's good feeling when you know that what you're doing every single day, people appreciate that, and they know that you're putting your heart and your soul into everything that you do. That they want to come, that they want to bring their own family members there, or other family members there. We've even actually had some sons and daughters say, "Can I have a bed? I want to come stay here. This is what you guys do every day. Like, this is awesome." So that's where relationships come in. And number 3 is to always be in the moment. People change from day to day, from minute to minute, from second to second. Look people in their eye. Feel how they're feeling. Put yourself in their shoes and always be in that moment. Don't go back and don't go forward, because that moment is what matters to that person. Because the next moment it could be something totally different. So always stay in the moment.
My first recommendation is culture change can be very hard and often can be prolonged. If you know in your heart that it's a good idea, don't give it up. Don't give up. Number 2, capitalize on every opportunity you're given to move that culture change marker forward. 3, share your successes with everyone. Tell your stories. Spread it around. Let them know. And finally, you don't have to be a dictator. I know that was mentioned yesterday. You don't have to be a dictator. You could just plant a seed.
So yes and yes. I think that, again, for me, it's the building those relationships. For me, the team that I work with, they're key. I want to build on their strengths. I want to build on their capacity. I want to see them grow and thrive. And you know, I think a happy team it means happy residents and happy families. And I think with the culture change piece, change takes time, and change to me that's lasting, you have to sort of plan it and sort of nurture it and take care of it. So You know, and I think Kayden did a great job. That's going to look very different at every village. Like if I was still working at Winston Park, I think the successes that I would be celebrating would obviously look very different than the successes that I celebrate at University Gates. And that doesn't mean that one's more important than the other. So I think we do need to appreciate, like, especially the small successes. But yeah, like change, it takes time. It's what is that saying? It's not a race, it's a marathon. And oh my God, it would take me like days to do a marathon. So
I love to run.
Yeah. Again, it will look very different. So yeah.